we've got a theist caller, Setuf, who I haven't spoken with in a while here. Pronouns are she, her, in Spain. The question today from Setuf is, do we think veganism is a religion? Setuf, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. I don't think of veganism as a religion.
Okay. Yeah, I just put the religion in there because your show is about religion. And some people do think veganism is a religion. But actually, what I'm interested in is what you think about veganism in general.
What we think about veganism in general. Well, typically, what we do on the show is we talk about what the callers believe and why. So I'm just going to flip it and ask, what do you think about veganism in general?
Yeah. So that's fair enough. So I think veganism is just a label you put on someone who does not support animal cruelty.
Doesn't support animal cruelty.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I don't feel that I support animal cruelty, but I wouldn't label myself a vegan either.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So you earlier on you said you guys are skeptics and you want to find the truth. So how can we analyze this claim in order to find if it's truthful or not?
Well, all it would take was an example showing how somebody could not identify as a vegan. I mean, okay, so is it possible for somebody who doesn't support animal cruelty to not be a vegan?
Not as far as I know, because the definition of veganism is avoiding animal cruelty as far as you can.
Is that the definition of veganism?
Yeah, it's the official definition from the Vegan Society, which are the people who came up with this word in the first instance, is veganism is a way of life that seeks to exclude as far as possible and practicable all forms of exploitation and cruelty to animals for any purpose such as food, clothing, or entertainment.
So
Let me give you.
Did you look up a definition? I looked up a definition.
I didn't. I want to give Setuf an example, a case which I'm interested in her views on. If somebody had a small holding with, let's say, a cow on the small holding, and the cow had calved, and they had no intention of eating the cow, and the cow had surplus milk, and they used the surplus milk to drink, making them thus not a vegan, would you consider that animal cruelty?
Well, we have to ask if they're a vegan, because the definition that Setuf is using has nothing to do with with consuming animal products.
That's what I'm trying to establish.
Yeah. So.
What is the question? Sorry.
Is the person? Yeah. Go ahead, Richard.
If someone had a cow on a small holding and they had no intention of eating the cow, and the cow calved, and they had surplus milk and they drank the milk, would you consider that? Would you consider them not a vegan or a vegan? Would you consider it animal cruelty? What's your position on that?
I mean, we must first talk about reality, right? 99% of the milk that we consume comes from factory farming. And
we don't have to talk. No. Just answer his question. Just answer Richard's question, because this has nothing to do with factory farming. We've got an example that is an isolated thing.
Fair enough. I will answer it. Fair enough. Sorry for that. So by my definition, we had exploitation in there, and this would be an exploitation.
Why would it be an exploitation? So what's your definition of exploitation? Well, why would you consider it exploitation?
Well, using someone unnecessarily, I would go with right
now. What's unnecessary? Why is it against the will?
You don't need animal products to be healthy or to survive. In matter of fact, you can be even.
That has nothing
on the world.
This has nothing to do
with the scenario I gave.
Yeah, he's talking about, so Richard put the scenario out that there's a cow that produces surplus milk and a person consumes the surplus milk. So the cow's producing the milk anyway. It has nothing, and your definition has nothing to do with whether or not the individual in question has some need for milk. Your definition was all about exploiting animals. So if the animal's not being exploited and the individual drinks the milk, are they vegan or what?
Well, I'm arguing that that is exploitation. Why is the cow there in the first place?
What you're asking? Why is the cow there in the first place?
Yes.
Maybe they're like cows.
Yeah, maybe this person just loves cows and they give this cow the most luxurious cow lifestyle possible, and they just love this cow and make sure that it's comfortable at all times.
Yeah. So I don't even know why this is like a red herring in my view, because it's not what we're talking about. But
it is exactly what we're talking about. It's exactly what we're talking about. So is this person who is not exploiting this animal a vegan or not?
Yes. Well, if they're not exploiting the animal, then they would be a vegan. But I don't understand how the scenario is any realistic. But if they're not exploiting the animal, then yeah, one could argue that they're a vegan.
Even if they're consuming the milk?
Animal?
So I'm just trying to nail this down. In your definition here, someone being a vegan has nothing to do with whether or not they consume any animal or animal byproduct, right?
That is correct, yes. And that's the definition of the vegan society, the people who came up with the word vegan.
So you seem to be having two separate definitions of the word vegan that you're using. You seem to be having one that means not consuming animal products and one that means not exploiting an animal, that work together at the same time.
The term vegan suffers from the same fate as atheists. You know, there are some people, when you say you're an atheist, they say it means you don't believe in God, or you don't believe any God exists. And there's some who say, no, this is the neutral position. So we suffer from the same fate, basically.
So what is your opinion? Because we're talking to you, we're not talking to the vegan society.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. But, just really quickly, before we keep going, because, this is an ACA show. We are talking about what people believe and why, but really the context of religion and God beliefs is what we do. So what does this have to do with our show?
Well, you are skeptics, right? And you want to come to true beliefs. And I made a claim that if you're not vegan, you're an animal abuser. So how can we get to the bottom of it to see whether or not this claim is true or not?
Right, but what does this have to do with our show? Like the nature of this claim. I mean, we could talk about, there's all kinds of claims people can make, but contextually, Talk Heathen is a show where people are talking about, religion primarily and their God beliefs. So what does this have to do with our show?
We can talk about why we are talking about the conversation, or we can talk about the conversation if we want to get to the bottom of the truth.
Well, if I'm going to ask you questions to try to, keep our show moving and you're not going to answer them, then there's no point in having this conversation. I mean, the whole thing here is we're talking about what people believe and why. I mean, you have called this show numerous times and you're listed as a theist. Yes. It'd be probably more interesting to our listeners to talk about that. This isn't Talk Vegan, that's not this show.
So do you want to get to the bottom of whether or not my claim is true, that if you're not a vegan, you're an animal abuser or not?
Well, I'm asking you, how is it relevant to our show?
Well, I did say in the beginning, some people claim that veganism is a sort of religion. So you guys always talk about how religious views are irrational and so on. So did
you make that claim just simply to get on with your call, though? I think maybe what Kenneth's asking, because you said you wanted to talk about whether people think veganism's a religion. And then as soon as we started the call, you kind of rejected that straight away and went into what we thought about veganism.
No, you asked me about my opinion. This is recorded, right? I asked you this question, you answered me, and then I wanted to continue asking you questions, and then you said, no, we want to hear your opinion, Setuf, and I gave you my definition.
Setuf, why do you do this? I mean, you tell the call screener you want to talk about if veganism is a religion, we address that immediately right out of the gate that we don't think it is, and then you switch to this whole other thing, wanting to talk about definitions related to veganism. None of this seems to have anything to do with our show. It sounds like you kind of misled our call screener to like what are we doing here?
Aren't we talking about veganism? And was that even in my question? I mean,
no, I'm asking you why are we doing this? Is what I'm asking you. I'm trying to get to something of substance here.
I can tell you why. We are doing this because you don't want to address whether or not my claim is correct, that if you're not vegan, you're an animal abuser. That's why we are doing this.
But okay, I'm going to give you exactly one more chance. What does that have to do with our show? What does that have to do with religion and God beliefs and what we do here?
Skepticism and getting to the truth. I mean, you even said in your intro that you are first and foremost a skeptic, and you want to get to the most truthful claims.
All right. So we're not going to keep going in circles here. Have a great weekend, Setuf. So I'm going to add Setuf along with Zeno to callers that I am not going to take calls from anymore. If other hosts would like to, they're more than welcome to, of course. But I'm running out of patience for these people.